Merry Christmas to all my Facebook friends, to all my Guyanese brothers and sisters, to my friends in the Caribbean, particularly Trinidad and Barbados. I wish to offer on this very auspicious day an explanation for what happened in Parliament on Friday, December 23rd, 2018, that eventful day when the vote of no confidence tabled by the opposition was supported by me, a government member of Parliament, and the motion was passed and the government collapsed. We will deal with the government trying now through lawyers to look to see how that could be an illegality. I don't know how it will be. The Constitution, Article 106(6) speaks to that. So we will leave that for them. My position, as it was then, as a member of Parliament, it wasn't a shaky one. It was one where I was myself very unstable mentally. I took so much from the government that it almost drove me crazy. And when I say took so much from the government, it was because I was a yes man, part of the yes man team, the AFC, the minor party in the coalition that formed the government. I worked very hard to put the government in place by supporting the AFC, campaigning for the AFC, and then the coalition resulted in us having a one-seat majority. We all became members of parliament, some ministers, and the APNU had the president. My brothers and sisters out there, particularly the young people, what is in this country for you? What is in Guyana for you? What is it that the APNU AFC has given you, the youngsters? I see nothing. And I'm sitting in Parliament. Well, I was. They've already expelled me. I received a letter. Harold Lachman, the Dr. Harold Lachman, who's running that list, he is also one of the yes men. He never called me to question me about my behavior or my particular act in Parliament. He simply sent me a letter removing me from Parliament. You know what? That's a blessing by itself. Because the work that I set out to do after I realized that I was so helpless and couldn't do anything for the people in regions 5 and 6 and Guyana generally, I realized that I had to do something to take this government out. I need to do something for the government or with the government. That's what I did. I all the time had no say because you voted according to Jessica Levy, a parliamentarian in the House of Commons in England or Great Britain as we know it. In her writings, one of them said, when you're in Parliament and a bill is tabled, do you vote according to your conscience or do you vote along party lines? Well, in Guyana, and I'm sure like most other countries, if you vote along your party lines, you're good. You're the guy they want because you're just a yes man. But if you vote according to your conscience, you're only allowed one vote. And it is so obvious that Lachman and Amna Ali and the rest of that team simply wanted to get rid of me. Well, I didn't want to be there either after Friday night. I have a law practice to look after, and I make more money than they can give me in Parliament for being the yes man or being part of the yes man team. Moses Nagamutu enjoyed driving around with his outriders, going to his brother's place in Wim, having drinks, visiting friends and relatives, his nieces and in-laws and all of them, relatives of the Prime Minister. That was good for them. What has Moses Nagamutu given to us? What has he given to the people in Berbice? When they closed the whale sugar estate, so I will deal with them one at a time. The whale sugar estate was closed. There was no consultation. And you would expect that before they closed the Rosal and Scaldon estates in Region 6, they might have talked to people. Some of us have an input. How does it impact the people in your area? See how it will impact them. What these people did not see is if you're putting in $6 billion into sugar, not all that money goes to waste. Some of the sugar is still sold. There's revenue coming from that. When the sugar workers are paid, they pay their taxes. Their children and family go to buy things. They pay VAT on items that they buy. All of that is money coming from the $6 billion that they put into the sugar estate. But they don't tell you anything about that. They simply say, look, We're putting in 6 billion. So we don't have to do that anymore. Let's close the estate and put 6,000 sugar workers on the breadline so their wives and their children can just starve to death. That is what they did. Moses Nagamutu and Cameron Ramzan did nothing. They never opposed it. I mentioned before, there are many square pegs in round holes. Let's deal with a couple. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Guyana, that man appealed to people to make a contribution to a project that he was heading for whatever reason. Where's that project? We're not going to deal with all those details. I want to ask you, my young friends out there in particular, when you come out of university, what will you be doing? This government created no job. The government created no opportunities for you to get into, to have jobs. They did nothing as far as job creation is concerned in 3.5 years. The Vice Chancellor and Miss Nicolette Henry, Minister of Education, did nothing to put a program, 3.5 years, and no program at the university to deal or to educate the youngsters, the youngsters, in oil and gas, so that when you come out, because oil will be kicking in 2020 or late 2019, you can have more than just the cleanup man job, the laborer job. Why? Where's their vision? What are they doing with you, the youngsters? We need to look at that more seriously. And you young people, learn not to be afraid. Tell your parents that they have to stand up to the wrongs that government, whichever government, is handing you. You need to stop it. You need to get them to work towards stopping it. I took it because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't help the people. But once the opportunity presented itself, I decided I'd support the vote of no confidence and have them removed. I want to ask you this. Many of you might have seen the video, and I'd like to thank you, those of you who think I'm a hero. What I did was out of concern for the people of Guyana. I'm a lawyer. I think I'm a successful lawyer. I don't think the government has anything to offer me. The position of an MP takes me away from my job. It's more of a detriment to me than anything else. But they didn't want to give it to anybody else in Region 6. They didn't want to give it to Dr. Ramaya, a man who works so very hard, to put them in office. Michael Hackett, another young lecturer at the University of Guyana with a master's degree, they told me that I'd be taking it or they'll give it to somebody outside of Region 6. So I took it, believing that at that time, in 2015, when we won the election, that I could do something for the people. Not only my hands were tied, my mouth was gagged, I couldn't say anything because they wouldn't let you. They didn't consult you. And so I apologize to all the people who had to put up with me being in Parliament doing nothing for 3.5 years. This move was something that I didn't just pick up overnight. I had this planned. Quickly, the security that took me out of there was not Kemraj Ramjatan's police. Not at all. And he said the security took me to the Cherijagan International Airport. I'll tell you now, I did not leave Guyana from the Cherijagan International Airport. I left from Liat through Ogle Airport on a Liat flight to Barbados. The itinerary will show you that. They can trace it if they want. And so they're lying now to make them look good. Raphael Trotman, when I spoke to him about the move that Valda Lawrence made, Valda spoke from her heart. A true PNC, a true supporter of PNC people. She didn't care that it was AFC that put her there as minister or put the entire APNU team in the government. She simply said, I am a PNC. My friends are PNC. I will give work to PNC people. And Trotman, when I wrote him a nice message, I said, we need to speak about this. He said, yes, at the end of the day, we'll make a statement. His statement was that Valda Lawrence was overwhelmed by the hotly contested local government election, defended it. And what happened? Valda Lawrence apologized. She apologized that what she did was wrong, what she said was wrong. That doesn't change it. The woman expressed her desire to support and provide the employment for only PNC people, AFC, PPP. We're not people in this country. That woman needed to be removed. And I'm sure you'll agree with me. Kemraj Ramjatan, as head of the security forces in Guyana, Minister of Public Security. What did he do to stop the crime? Crime escalated. And they're coming out to tell you that, oh, the number of serious offenses dropped. No, it didn't drop. People continue to die at the hands of hoodlums. And that is my fear. That is my fear. I was threatened when I said yes. The clerk for the National Assembly, who is definitely on their side, you can't argue with that now. Sherlock Isaac stopped the count. Why? Why did he stop it when I said yes? Created enough room or space for commotion, expecting that it would have ended there with no complete count of the votes. But the speaker took a firm stand and said, when Walter Lawrence stood up to ask for timeout, he said, no timeout during a vote. You have to finish counting the vote. It was done. But while that was being stymied, while that was being haggled, the amount of abuse, name them, Walter Lawrence, what they so-and-so, effing so-and-so you're doing, Charrandass, say, no, no, no. My good friend to my left, the Rasta boy from Linden, Jermaine Figuera, elbowed me when he denying that he did that. The cameras will not lie. And he was swearing at me. From across to my left, from Region 5, Jennifer Wade, said it in no uncertain terms. Charrandass, you can die tonight. I don't want to die. I didn't plan on dying. I simply wanted to remove the government. Was I supposed to die for that? The government, APNU AFC, had a bunch of AFC people. We were all yes men. And anytime we decided to say and know when we're supposed to say yes in favor of the government, we would have been kicked out. My example is no different. But Moses Nagamutu and Kemraj Ramjatan did not oppose anything. Raphael Trotman as leader, they're the leaders. They did not oppose any bill presented by the government and opposed everything presented by the opposition. My brothers and sisters, watch what was happening. This government, and they're still the government, they have to run the country until an election is held and a new president is sworn in. The Constitution allows for that. But they brought in parking meters in Georgetown. Parking meters set up by some Mexican company that killed businesses in Georgetown. Once the business people, many of them saw that they couldn't get clients to come in their stores. People were restricted because of the parking meters and all of that. You had to pay parking. Many of them closed their businesses. Young business people outside there, old business people, you all had to worry. This government, and it is not about being black or Indian, my friends. This is about being Guyanese and being stymied by a government that was looking at oil. When we get the oil money, we will do this, we will do that. They killed sugar. They destroyed lives of people. They killed rice. Some of the rice millers, rice farmers, they were hustling to solve the problem of rice, at least to salvage some of the business. The Nan Persaud in Berbice Region 6. They did a fabulous job helping people. A couple of rice mills across the country, as has, some people were helping out. But it was the government that did nothing to help these businesses and the people directly connected to them. And my take on that is because most of those people did not support the APNU AFC, and the local government spoke volumes. They got one seat in Region 6 and 5. They got none in Region 2, that's Essequibo. You wonder why, my friends? People have lost confidence in the government, entire government, whether it's because of a few AFC members or some racial multi-government MP from APNU, or those who pay $12.5 million for the rent of a stupid hall that they had nothing in. All of those are things that created the lack of confidence that the people had in the government. Why are they blaming me? I was the one who had in my hands the power, if you want to call it power, to remove them. And that's all I did. That is all I did. One yes, one man, one time only, because I won't get another yes or a no in Parliament. The power of one. Nicolette Henry spoke about the power of one. She is now experiencing the power of one from Friday night, the 21st of December. And again, I didn't do this for glory. They're claiming that I was paid. I just got a message. I was paid 500 million Guyana dollars. Where's the money? Oh, I put it in the bank. I am in Canada right now. Could I have brought 500 million Guyana dollars with me in Canada? I have a few $1,000s Guyana money, yes. That's because it was left with me, and when I came out of Parliament, they paid me for my traveling. And even if I was paid, was it wrong to support the no confidence motion against the government? Many of you out there, many other MPs wanted to remove the government, felt the lack of confidence, but they didn't have the, I want to say a word, they did not have the audacity to stand up and say, yeah, we want you out of here, or to vote yes in favor of the vote of no confidence. Many of them enjoy the perks that they're getting. Many of them. German Figueroa was a school teacher. Walla Lawrence was a school teacher. They're happy being members of parliament, getting $260 a month, and Walla Lawrence as minister with all that comes with being a minister. Walla Lawrence never admitted that there's a serious problem in the health business, the health with the hospitals. New Amsterdam Hospital, I was there as a patient myself. So lack all these facilities. Several things were missing. Shortage of drugs. The doctors were literally manhandled by Colin Bino, who was a retired school teacher running a medical institution. You have a colonel, somebody running the Georgetown Public Hospital. That is what you get. Square pegs in round holes. They needed to be removed. And for those of you who think you ought to hate me, I'm asking you to look again. Look now with a clean, clear mind at what went down in Guyana for 3.5 years. Over $3 trillion were spent. And what did they do with the money? Where is the development? Where is the job creation in particular? When you young people come out of high school, you go to college if you do, you go to university if you do, where are you going to find jobs? Where are you going to find jobs? And within the first 10 days of taking office, I took 2 brilliant rice millers to Noel Holder's office. He did not even pay attention. These people did not get back to them on anything. He goes to Region 6 and he holds meeting, doesn't call me as a Regional 6 MP. And the man does not know what to do in the Ministry of Agriculture. He doesn't. He really doesn't. These are some of the things that have forced me to take a stand. And all I had to do was decide when I would exercise that particular stand that I took. And it was Friday night, December 21st, when the vote of no confidence was tabled. And then you hear them say, Amna Ali, bring it on. They were so confident because these are not people who look to see if anybody is disturbed. I'll tell you what Amna Ali did to me during the budget debate. There's no voting, but you sit inside here from 10 in the morning to 10, 11 o'clock at night. You have to be tired. For 2 weeks straight, I went into my car, which was parked in the Parliament compound. I took a nap, and it was about an hour or so that I went back. Amna texted me to say I was away from Parliament too long. I need to explain. I told her what I did. I had taken a tablet that I should have taken the night before, and I felt a little drowsy. I decided to relax and slept for a little too long. You know what she said? That's not satisfactory. Well, what else do you want from me? You want to lie like you're lying to the people? That's what I was supposed to do? I told her the truth, and she chastised me for it. I'm not a little child, Amna Ali. Nobody should be treated that way. You all contributed well to the decision and the stand that I took on the night, that eventful night of December 21, 2018. And now my good friend, very prominent lawyer, former AFC chairman, Nigel Hughes, is running around to take this matter to court. What you young people out there, tell me, ask yourself and answer the question. If you have 65 members in Parliament who are entitled to vote. 32 on one side and 33 on the other side. What will it take to have a majority? Nigel said, brilliant lawyer, brilliant lawyer. I have no beef to grind with Nigel. I'm just mentioning what he said. That you have to have 34 to have a majority. Well, if you have 34 and the other side has 32, you have 36 seats. You can't create a seat. Parliament has only 65. Sorry, 32 and 34 will be 66. Parliament only has 65 seats. Why is Nigel trying to create another seat? To do what? To make it look like all of that was wrong? It was not wrong. But the desperation of these people now, all they can see, we are losing power. We can't get oil money. All the perks that we were getting, all these fancy deals that we were getting, we can't get anymore. Charrandass is causing us, or is forcing us to lose all of that. We don't want to see Charrandass. Charrandass must die. Well, as I said in the interview, the press interview, as soon as I walked out of Parliament at night, it is not my ambition. It never has been my ambition to live forever. I was very worried that I didn't have to see my second grandson. I spent a good day with him just the other day. He's only a month old. But I spent last night with my nieces and nephews and all my brothers and sisters. So now they know that if I'm to die, I will die because somebody from the APNU AFC, who is not too comfortable with being out of Parliament now, will set up a killing or a chopping or something to cause me to die. That is so obvious. They will, oh no, we can't do that. We're not killers. Well, you're not killers, yet you swore at me. You elbowed me in Parliament. Imagine the behavior in Parliament. And Walter Lawrence was supposed to be a school teacher. Swearing and all the efforts and all that came from that woman's mouth. Then she stood up to ask for time out. It's like you're in boxing, you want time out. Well, the speaker did not give her the time out. What they got is kicked out of Parliament. That's the kind of out they needed. And that's all I set myself for that Friday night, to remove them from Parliament. Let us go back to the polls. You, the people, will decide. I can't make any more decisions in that regard. You will decide who you want to vote for. And you don't have to vote for the PPP. You don't have to vote for AFC or APNU. You can stay home and let them decide how they're going to deal with this. But I would suggest to you that you make a choice. And let us not be afraid to support what we stand for. I think I was brave. Maybe I was stupid. Some of you may say that. But what I did was what I had to do. My brothers and sisters out there, again, I'm asking you to sit down and question the government. You don't have to support them again. If you did, ask them what they were doing for the youths in Guyana. They had no plan at all. They exercised none. They did what they did because they were all getting magnificent benefits. I got paid. I got my $260,000 a month. I got a duty-free vehicle. Those are all good deals. But what they were getting and what they were looking forward to is what they have to regret now. That is why they're desperate. They are desperate. And I may have to pay a price. The consequence could only be for them to be satisfied. The death of Charrandass will settle all of this. He causes to be removed from Parliament. And many of them will not get back in there. Many of them. If the AFC can garner 2 seats now, that is more than I am dreaming of for them. They will not even get 2 seats in Parliament again. The people don't want to see them. Moses Nagamutu, he mentioned it. Oh, I participated in a meeting for local government, one goddamn meeting. They had about 19 people from WIM there. His sister-in-law, Mavis Nagamutu, said Charrandass should rot in hell. Why? Because the job he got in the Prime Minister's office will be removed. She will be back on the unemployment line too. That doesn't make a difference to me, because it didn't make a difference to Moses Nagamutu and Kemrad Ramjatan when they threw over 3,000 sugar workers on the breadline and out of jobs. Should that not mean something to you, Mavis? Again, my brothers and sisters, I'm asking you to look at what transpired and think carefully before you make comments and offer derogatory remarks about Charrandass Persaud. I don't care that I was expelled from Parliament. I did what I had to do. Those are the ones who are worried now. My brothers and sisters, on Christmas Day, I'd like to wish you Merry Christmas, and I'm hoping that 2019 will have a wonderful gift for you, the gift of a new party, a new government, and a government that should be held responsible for what they do for you and to you in Guyana, what they do to the oil and with the oil. They need to use oil to create industries, to set up infrastructure, to provide jobs for you, your children, your grandchildren, not to squander money and not to sign away the wealth of Guyana. Again, I'll thank you for listening. I hope I did not bore you. Have a good one.